Welcome to the Money GPS. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Economists can't decide if it's a recession or not, but I'm going to show you what's happening today, and I will give you the history of why this is so key, so important to pay attention to, why the Federal Reserve has to increase interest rates dramatically in order to make this all go away. Let's begin. Here we have it talking about a recession. I'm going to show you a few facts here. We're not going to worry about is it or is it not. I'm going to give you the data because that's what's really important. Quote, there's no question that growth will moderate as a result of the Fed's interest rate increases. But with unemployment at 3.6%, you're a long way from the ugly effects of a recession. Now, that's certainly a fact. You know that the U3 unemployment rate is at such a low level, and as a result, the Federal Reserve can say, we've got to increase these interest rates, and we don't have much to worry about in this regard in terms of our, dual mandate of maximum employment and price stability. For maximum employment, they're there, but price stability, that's the challenge. Now, here we have it. Inflation is like an illness, and medicine needs to be tailored to the specific problem. Otherwise, you could make things a lot worse. And right now, the Fed has no control over the main driver of rising prices. So you see what's happening with the supply chain, you look at what's going on around the world, and clearly there are issues. But to ignore the fundamental problems that have been going on basically since the financial crisis is truly short-sighted. Okay? If we're not going to acknowledge super low interest rates for such a long period of time, might as well put the blinders on. I don't know. Some people like that. Apparently, this current administration is considering an easing in some of the tariffs on the $300 billion in Chinese imports. They have apparently gone in this direction, reversing what had happened a few years ago in order to mitigate some of the effects of inflation. Now, of course, it was pretty obvious when these were implemented, putting them on would increase prices. That was the kind of the point of them. Now, of course, there's geopolitical issues happening here, and there's so much more to that. But in terms of just the economic effects, the financial effects, when you put a tariff on, look, if you're going to be importing that product from that country, you are going to pay more. And so the incentive is, hey, you're paying more over there, make it here. But nothing is made in these countries like the United States. Let's be honest, those jobs have been shipped off overseas. Those days, at least right now, they're gone. There's no way to restore it. And if you encounter the same things over and over again, you just put more taxes, more tariffs, more this, more that, it's not going to resolve the underlying problems. If you do not allow businesses to thrive, people to thrive, prosperity of the individual, well then, you have what we have today. We have to understand the central banks. They do these cycles, and I've been trying to highlight that, and I found, unfortunately, the mass of people, they just don't get it. But you are here, and that's why I appreciate you being here during this time. We're going to learn all this. Look, it's not just the United States. This is about Canada. Markets are almost fully pricing in a 75 basis point hike at the central bank's July 13th decision, bringing the policy rate to 2.25%. Now imagine what happens when you have interest rates, the main interest rate at over 2%, what happens to mortgage rates? Yeah, big impact. And not to mention credit cards and all the other debt that's out there. It's a massive amount of debt, card debt. I just showed in the previous video to this one. Have you seen that? $712 for a car payment. That's the average. That's considered normal now. $712? I hope you're getting a nice car out of that. Okay. And we have this. Long, moderate, and painful. What the next U.S. recession may look like. Now, depends who you ask. But I'm just showing you this right now because there is this talk. I've seen it from the influencers, but you look out there into the mainstream financial analysts, they're all saying the same thing. Have you seen that? The issue here is that they believe the market will dip down and then it's going to find the bottom. Economy is going to, stagnate for a little bit, and then we grow. Hey, all you got to do is simply dollar cost average. You're going to be rich. I've seen certain influencers saying, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be rich, and I'm buying Tesla, and I'm buying all these other stocks because I'm going to be rich. I mean, this is terrible. Terrible to believe that you know what's going to happen next when you won't even acknowledge the central bank cycle. US lacks buildup of leverage that precedes past deep downturns, but the Fed may not ride to the rescue given its inflation mission. So people believe that stocks are going to fall to a certain level. Maybe it's S&P 500 at 3,400, 3,200, 3,000. Maybe it's 2,900. I've seen all these sort of predictions. The Federal Reserve is going to come in and ride to the rescue. Well, if they did, they're going to be upsetting a lot of people. Some people might be happy, but that's certainly one of the key indicators is to watch what happens with the Fed. We need to pay attention. And on this channel, I will be the one to give you each and every nuance. I will sit through all the Fed meetings, the boring FOMC meetings. Look at those meeting minutes. You got to subscribe to the channel. Hit that down below. Here you can see the post-WW2 recessions, looking at it, how long it's been, the decline in GDP. What could it be? Well, of course, you look through the period and you really don't know because every cycle is different. There are similarities. They do have fundamental aspects to them, but pay attention closely. All right. Now, George Costanza gave this video a thumbs up, and I'd appreciate it if you did the same. It helps to support the channel and notifies other people out there that this is good stuff. New forecasts of real GDP growth. Can you spot the odd one out? Have you seen it? Can you look at it here? I'll pull out my highlighter. We can go through it together. What it looks like here, this is first quarter of 2022 all the way to the fourth quarter of 2023. So what is it? Well, most of them show that we're in for some negative growth. What do we see, though, for China? This is China right here. It looks like second quarter 2022 didn't look so good, negative 3.1. However, they believe the third quarter 2022 growth of 4.3%, then 1.6%, and positive growth in the following quarters. That is very different from a lot of other countries, including the US and the Euro area, UK, and so on. How are you going to get growth without stimulus? These days, that's all it is. It's a mirage. Do you agree? Let me know. Is it a mirage or is there actual sustained strength, growth, and prosperity? No experience, no resume, you're hired. Hotels fight for staff. This problem is still going on. I found it to be particularly evident with people that are making, let's say, less money. This is you pass by the stores, the retail stores, help wanted, help wanted, help wanted. Some of the other jobs, though, doesn't seem to be the case. Now, the semiconductors are one of those industries that you should be paying attention to. They are often seen as a bellwether. And I've seen really mixed data coming out of the semiconductors, okay? Vital, TSMC supplier, warns of chip material price hikes into 2023. This is still going on. I've been covering this since 2020. The semiconductors are still an issue today. Now, if semiconductors are a problem, what does that mean? Does that mean some companies are going to lose? Yeah, some companies are going to have some issues. But what are semiconductors in today? Is it cell phones and computers? Yes, that's true. But what about your dishwasher? What about just about everything? Hey, did you get that chip in your hand yet? Oh my goodness. Raw materials costs rising at an unexpected pace. It began retreating for products whose prices can't be raised. So this is an issue I talk about all the time, the ceiling. If suddenly your cell phone is going to be too expensive, well, people just simply wait. And what does that do? That creates deflation. You see the cycle here? That's what happens. I hope people, I see these comments all the time. Like, what are you talking about, buddy? I don't even get what you're saying. You have to pay attention throughout it. I mean, I'm trying to explain it as best as possible here. Chip maker struggles, have Wall Street worried about a recession. That's one thing. Pay attention to the semiconductors, okay? Micron issues profit warning on cooling semiconductor demand. You see? We've already got this going, and it's on two levels. Because the semiconductors, bellwether initially, but also at the same time, they're saying, look, people are not going to purchase this product. They're not going to purchase that product. And as a result, suddenly we need less of these overall. But you're seeing some of these, disconnected information. And I believe that's because we're at a crossroads. So keep an eye on this. I'll bring you the data you need to know. Semis are a red flag because they're really in everything. Absolutely. Now, what we are seeing right here with oil, with gas, with other commodities has been chaotic, to say the least. But this one is so odd. You in the United States, you've probably dealt with some increasing energy costs, am I right? Well, in April 2022 alone, 5 European countries, France, Spain, UK, Netherlands, and Poland, accounted for 54% of total US LNG exports. And that is interesting because people in the US, I'm sure they probably need more of it. Natural gas has gone up. It's not just in Europe, but they're exporting to Europe. But as they say here, Europe still faces supply troubles this winter if it doesn't take measures to conserve energy. How are you going to conserve energy? They're telling you, don't use your energy, turn off your lights, turn off your air conditioning. I've shown you those articles. Okay, you see this and what happens because they're so reliant on Russian gas. And then suddenly they got a problem with Russia and they say, oh yeah, we do have an issue. What are we going to do now? You never become reliant on one supplier. Big mistake. Never on one country, never on one supplier. And that goes for you out there in business too. You're always purchasing from the same supplier. What if they shut down? What if they've got problems? What if they raise their prices? What if they, sort of have some issue with you suddenly? Germany's Uniper in bailout talks to plug a $9.4 billion hole. You have to understand this when you're looking at commodities, when you're looking at businesses. Even though the commodities could be rising, the business itself could go down for one reason or another. And this is what I wanted to interject here, because if you see this, there should be a warning to everybody to diversify. Never say, I'm going to put my money in Facebook because, they're going to buy everything. Look at Facebook stock. 5 years, nothing, no change in the stock. 5 years. Okay. And then this right here, real quick. Crypto meltdown claims Rolex and Patek Philippe as victims. Prices for the most popular secondhand luxury watches have peaked. Latest sign that the bling boom may not last. And then this here is the sub-dial index, which just shows you and tracks the top 50 watches out there. And you can see it for yourself. Look at it. The peak was probably March of 2022, somewhere in there, basically the early part of the year. And people want to focus on this. This is what happens with the stock market, with the watch market, it doesn't matter, okay? They want to focus on this. And they simply say, well, like the stock market, same thing. Well, okay, it's going to dip here, and then the Federal Reserve prints some more money and bring it back up. So I can just buy anywhere because it's just going to beat where it was before. But nobody wants to point this part out. What about the, was this justified? Was it? That's a question I have for you. Was it justified? Not about watches, but about everything. Everything went to these levels. So how long does it take to get back here through the process of inflation? Certainly in nominal terms, we can go there for anything. But it's not so linear. Okay. So that's my message to you. We look at the cycles, we pay attention to the cycles, and we could see it step by step. You as the individual, what can you do? I talk about it all the time. You have to diversify. Diversify on every single level. If you love precious metals, don't always buy the same type of precious metal. Diversify within that. You never know what could happen. Small denominations, things like this. If you are looking into paper assets, my goodness, please diversify more than in anything. If you're in real estate, don't always buy in the same city. You want different cities if you can help it. It doesn't have to be in different countries entirely, but you want to have a little bit of mobility in there and diversification. There's no doubt about it. I hope you appreciate the information. All right. If you did, simply hit that thumbs up. I want to thank you for that. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join the 283,000 or maybe 282,000, depending, other people around the world as we go and document each and every step of this maze. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.